I'll start off tonight by introducing Corporal Olivier Godin. So Corporal Godin was previously one of our watch commanders in Thompson Municipal Detachment, and then he recently took over as the Acting Sergeant NCO in charge of our Thompson Rural Unit, overseeing 8 of our surrounding communities. And then now I've moved him again and brought him back in an active capacity as Staff Sergeant to replace Shane Flanagan as Operations NCO. This year to date, or as of September 30th, we've fielded a total of 13,891 calls for service. That is up from last year when we fielded 12,735, or an increase of about 8.3%. That increase is being primarily driven by theft under $5,000, so low-level property crime, primarily shoplifting, as well as public disorder calls, so calls in the Walmart, Safeway area, and public intoxication. Both of those possibly can be contributed, at least in part, I would say, to less CSOs that are operating or working downtown and downtown core. So, with the increase of calls for service, we are seeing an increase of prisoners lodged this year. So far, we're up about 27.6% over last year.
You have an increase of 27.6%. I think it's a very big number now. So how do your cell accommodate this number?
So whether we have 5 prisoners or 20 prisoners, it doesn't change the amount of guards that we have that are guarding. So the only costs, if you're referring to costs and the increasing costs, would be maybe prisoner food if they're there longer. But if they're there long, so we're only allowed to hold on to an intox person less than 24 hours. And if they're remanded longer than that into custody, it no longer becomes a financial responsibility of the City of Thompson. It becomes a financial responsibility of the province. So there's no increased burden on the City of Thompson, at face value on the amount of prisoners that, or the larger number amount of prisoners that we're launching this year. So, all of our prisoners go to Winnipeg, and the sheriff do those transports. But as soon as they're remanded into custody, they become the property of the province. And it's up to the province to get them to the correctional center for the lengthier term of their sentence. So. Our calls for service right now are around 320 calls a week, right? But in the summer, we're up around 550. So we're taking almost right now about half the calls for service that we were in June, July, August, which was just too much for us to keep on top of, while also doing public disorder and public intoxication downtown. So now that that's slowed down a bit, I think you'll probably start to see us a little bit more now getting back into that, the blitzes with the CSOs or handful. These ones stood out a little bit, requiring a little bit more investigation. The first one was September 6th. We received a report of an assault at a convenience store, and when we attended, a 33-year-old female notified us that she had been held against her will for several days at a camp in town. We attended that camp and found the suspect that was there, as well as evidence of her having been held against her will. That suspect was arrested, and he was charged with multiple offenses and remanded into custody. Also on September 22nd, our officers were on patrol, and coincidentally, as they drove by the detachment, they saw someone that was banging on the door and knocking on the door for the detachment. No one was in there at the time because all the officers were on the road doing patrols. When they stopped to talk to him, they talked to this male. They found that he had been stabbed multiple times. They provided first aid while waiting for the emergency medical services to transport him. We were able to see the assault, I think, on our cameras.
Yes.
Yeah. So we actually, that night, were able to go into our surveillance cameras, see the assault happening, identify the suspects, which led to the arrest of 2 persons. 2 male youths, actually 16 and 15 years of age. Both were arrested and both were remanded into custody. For annual policing priorities, we have 3 initiatives that are related to the City of Thompson, which I report to you every month. The first one being joint RCMP CSO initiatives. We didn't do any initiatives with them in September, primarily because we're a little bit short on CSOs. However, we do have a joint initiative planned for this weekend on the 20th with our single CSO. We've brought a couple members in on overtime as well. So you'll see them doing some downtown blitz enforcements in our problem areas. So for example, the one that's popping to mind right now is the public bathrooms. right? So I think that was identified as perhaps something that we could do as a community to discourage people from urinating in public or defecating in public. So there's just stuff on that list that we're working on together that we haven't been able to finalize yet. So it's still being developed. We're still planning it. So we're trying to make that stuff happen. So
I appreciate that.
as of September 30th, we had 3 hard vacancies. That's down from last month when we reported 4 hard vacancies. That is because we did receive finally our new admin sergeant who is here. He actually took this report for me. He is here and in place now and working. We also received in September 2 new recruits. So obviously we did have some members come and go during that month, and we do have 3 more recruits incoming, arriving in October, November, as well as members moving out. So I anticipate we're going to hover around that 3 hard vacancy range for at least the next few months anyways. So our clerical resources are presently at 5 of 9 positions filled. We have 1 position that's currently going through the application phase. So. I'm quite impressed with our PCR, we call it PCR unit, because they're out every day in the schools, working on committees in town. They're taking part in every project that we have or everything that we're invited to attend in the community. And both Sandy and Rob are quite busy. We're actually losing Sandy soon, we know. She's retiring, so she'll be working her last day November 15th, I think, is it? Yeah, around November 15th is her last day, and then she has some leave that she's taking. Her official retirement date is December 15th. So she'll be on her way here soon. We'll be recognizing her obviously for all the work that she's done, but a busy unit and they do a lot of work here in town. So.